welcome back to TacoCorp Sports. I'm Nate, that's Tony, and we're here to recap Week 7 of the NFL season. We are going to go over our lessons learned from Week 7 and what we're going to be doing with that going forward as usual. And then in the spirit of Halloween, we are going to be talking about players that we find to be scary going for the rest of the season. And that could be either for us or against us, right? We made a lot of takes on this show over the preseason and throughout it on how we feel about players. So are they right? They're wrong. Where do we feel? Where do they lie? We're going to be drafting our top 5 scariest athletes of all time, ranting or raving and leaving you off with a banger of the week. But first, as always, Tony, top of mind. What's top of mind for you?
Missed opportunities this past weekend, Sunday specifically. We missed, the opportunity to have perhaps one of the most deadly drinking games of all time. That is, we would have taken a drink every time we heard an announcer say that it is National Tight Ends Day. Anytime the tight end was looked at, passed the ball, handed off the ball, made a block. Good God, I was sick and tired of it after like 2 broadcasts, saying it about a half a dozen times. Man. But also a missed opportunity is like parlaying a bunch of the tight ends together or doing like some kind of round robin. Because I saw some pretty cool tickets that cashed with a bunch of tight ends like Gesicki, Goddard, bunch of guys. Kelsey, obviously.
Yeah, it would have been good. I saw some of those and it's like, oh man, why didn't we think about National Tight End Day? And like, is it a thing? I don't know, right? Like that they're like, hey, let's get the tight end involved today for some reason or whatever. But it just seems to happen every year. Lesson learned number 1 before we even get into that segment of what we're doing next year.
This one down.
Yes, this is episode 110. We need to remember it for next year, and we're round robining every tight end to go over on catches, receptions, yards, and to score a touchdown. Just I don't know how many that is. That's what 32 teams. Let's go 96 bets round robin. Whatever it is, it's going to cost thousands of dollars to try to do that, but we'll figure it out. Subscribe to the channel and like and comment to get us to be monetized and maybe get a deal with somebody. But anything else top of mind for you?
That's it.
Yeah, my only top of mind right now is MLB baseball. So we're recording this after it's Monday night, October 23rd, I believe it is. Yeah, 9:33 p.m. Monday Night Football just ended. Brock Purdy's throwing one-handed jumping running passes across the middle. They're getting picked off left and right. Some of them, wide receiver problems, whatever. The heart and soul of that team, Deebo Samuel's not in, and it really does hurt the Niners, I believe. So we talked about that in the past. I think that's the biggest foul that they have right there going on. But mine's the MLB playoffs. I have a couple of exacta tickets sitting out there. I have one, I need the Phillies to win the fucking World Series, and they go to Game 7 against the damn Diamondbacks, and it's killing me right now. They did lose today, right? Yeah, the Diamondbacks won, but then you have the Diamondbacks won 5-1, and the Texas Rangers just beat the Houston Astros 11-4 to make it to the World Series.
Let's go.
So I had some Houston Astros to make the World Series prior to. I had like the Brewers and a couple other teams or whatever like that. But then after the first, wild card round, I was like, oh, it's going to be the Phillies. I remember texting our friend David in a group text for betting when I was back in it before it turned into somebody live tweeting games and talking about, hey, I'm at an Ohio State game. Look at me, guys. And I just left. I was, fuck this. I don't want to deal with this bullshit. But I was like, hey, the Phillies are it, right? And he's like, oh, it seems to be a year too late because he was heavy on the Phillies. But I have some exacta tickets for the Phillies to beat the Astros and Phillies to beat the Rangers in the World Series. So maybe I'll hedge out of, I'll play the Rangers as it goes and guarantee me a profit. So, but MLB playoffs are pretty exciting, but I really need the Phillies to get there. And that's going to be, you never know what could happen in a Game 7, right? So
No.
Weird thing is the ALCS, every team that won in that series was on the road. No home wins in that series.
Oof.
Second time, I think the last time it happened was 2019 is when it happened. But that's top
strange.
of mind. We had a fun football weekend. Picking winners, I think, went pretty well. Granted, the Niners lost. That kind of sucks or whatever like that.
Yeah.
But I think it went better than normal. Fantasy football went pretty well. I was going to call this episode 122.94 to 107.14, Tony, but the fans wouldn't recognize that is our score this week when we played each other.
I quit. This is it. Football. I'm done.
Tony's gone. Anyways, I'll talk about how great my team is as we go. Nah, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I ended up beating Tony in that, and just finished off our Survivor pool where I won 2 years in a row, as Tony had the 49ers tonight. I had the Cleveland Browns, so I'm going to rant later about this, but there's one part of the day where I really loved NFL officiating, and that was the Cleveland Browns and Indianapolis Colts game because it helped me survive. So
your pool locked before the Sunday night and the Monday night game. I was not happy about that when I went to try and change my pick.
Yeah,
just throwing that out there.
The pool locks at the start of the 1:00 games on Sunday. That is in the rules, and it was out there. No, you shouldn't be able to change your picks. No, any Survivor pool, the majority of Survivor pools are due before the Thursday night games. So we're lucky enough to have that. But anyways, I'm a Survivor again.
If the games haven't played yet, like if it's Sunday and you still have like the two teams.
No, because you can see everybody else's pick. But that's why you need to be able to see everybody else's pick at the same time. That's why.
Okay, that's fair.
So there's no game theory.
I don't like it.
No, I like it because I've won 2 times in a row.
Nope,
so
let's run it back. Run it back.
Nope. We'll do it next year, and I'll win again because I am the greatest at picking winners. Anyways, let's move on to what we learned in Week 7 of the 2023 season, Tony. I got 3 things here. I don't know how many you got, but I'll let you go first, as always.
All right. What I learned, a little bit about DeVonta Smith. He's boom or bust, whether we like it or not. Week 1, 10 PPR points. That's acceptable. 19.1 in Week 2. That's phenomenal. Week 3, 2.8. Week 4, 7.8. Week 5, 0.6. Week 6, 4.4. Week 7, 8.9. None of those weeks were great beyond Week 2. What I'm doing with that, I'm going to move him down the weekly ranks. He was drafted as the wide receiver 13, not producing as a wide receiver 13 or the 25th player off the board. And you're not going to get anything close to that value this year with him, barring any injury to AJ Brown and like Dallas Goedert. You probably need one or both those guys to go out. And they just added Julio Jones. This was his first game on Sunday night. So he'll probably take some time, but that dude's probably going to get some design looks too. So if you drafted DeVonta Smith, I did not. You're probably not satisfied with what he's done so far for your team.
Yeah, especially when all these other wide receivers are booming out too. So there's dudes out there who nobody gives a shit about that are everyday starters, right? So
yeah.
Yeah. My number 1. And this is a bit of a humble pie for me, right? I'm pretty egotistical when it comes to my takes and my picks and why. And I even doubled down last week and got laughed at by everybody in the airwaves, including you right in front of my face, Tony. But Kadarius Toney is no more, and he can be dropped. Rashee Rice is now the pass catcher to own in Kansas City outside of Travis Kelce. It is far and away there. So I spoke about Toney's snap share last week increasing over the last few weeks since his injury and his target share within those time frames as well too, right? So his snaps correlating with his targets are like 25 to 30%. It's crazy. It's outrageous to see all that stuff. But that went away this last week as Rashee Rice took over 60% of the snaps. Toney took just 19%, down from 42% last week. And they just traded for McCole Hardman, who took 16% after coming over for a few days to Kansas City. Congratulations to Rashee Rice. The guy stayed on the field. He was healthy. He worked hard in the offseason. There was the reports that he was the fittest dude, like the Iron Man in their training camp, right? The most fit athlete that they had on the team. That means he was working his ass off. He came in ready for camp, and you don't see all that kind of stuff out of rookies all that often. He's tall, big. He runs great routes, has great hands. He doesn't really burn down the field as much or whatever like that, but he's got such good body skills that he's figured out how to use them, and he's complimented himself. He's always on the field available, and he's catching the passes that are getting thrown to him. He has the trust of the team. A couple weeks back, he heard things from guys like Mahomes about Rashee Rice, and they stopped talking about Sky Moore a little bit here and there. Stop bringing up Kadarius Toney as much. But congratulations to Rashee Rice. Everybody that drafted him in redraft, you can start him every single week. To those of you, like some of us, who decided to handcuff the wide receiver position in Kansas City, we talked about that a few episodes ago, right? Like, we were talking about that, about how you can handcuff these guys, and if one doesn't work out, one is going to. And for those of us, that includes me, I just need to help make myself feel better about this or whatever, that grab Rashee Rice early in the first round of dynasty drafts and we're called stupids. He's an every week starter. Plug him in. Feel good about it. The Chiefs offense is going to pick it up as it goes, right? Like, we expect that. Mahomes had his first big game of the season where he had, 4 touchdowns, 400 something yards or whatever. He had a full game's worth of stats in the first half. It was ridiculous. But Kadarius Toney, you can drop him. He's done in Kansas City. And if he does do something, you're not going to want to pick him up anyways. People will think it's a fluke and a one-time thing. Don't deal with the heartbreak. If you have Rashee Rice, congratulations. If not, maybe go pick up one of your handcuffs that we talked about last week's episode, because some of those dudes are playing ball right now. So, yeah, that is my number one. A little bit of humble pie, a little bit of feel good, but I have to be able to admit my faults, Tony, on Kadarius Toney.
It's about time.
Terrible name. I should have known.
It's about time. I'll go ahead and admit some fault here as well with my next one. I think it's time to cut my losses, not cutting this player off my team, but Javonte Williams. The writing was on the wall coming into the season. Williams looked healthy. He was ahead of his schedule, kind of in the rehab process, and he appeared set to fill kind of that Kamara role as like the pass catching running back for Denver, also chewing up carries right between the tackles. That just hasn't been the case. Coming into week 7, Javonte was behind Samaje Perine in PPR scoring as the RB39, and even behind Jaleel McLaughlin, who was the RB25. I haven't seen where those guys have landed after the Monday night game just wrapped up. But McLaughlin and Perine also have 26 receptions to Javonte's 11. So swing and a miss, probably just a flex, but probably also matchup dependent as well right now for Javonte.
You want to make a trade on air? You want to make a trade? I'll trade.
I'd have. I'm using so right now I'm using him and McLaughlin, so it's gonna have to be a running back because I'm getting
Zack Moss. You want Zack Moss?
Absolutely.
What about let's see. No, I don't have another running back you would want.
Yeah.
Najee Harris. Okay.
My people figure something out. My people will be in touch with your people though if you do want them. No.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
Zack Moss might get traded to a team that needs a running back, so.
Didn't like Zack Moss before this year. I don't like him so far. So
number 4 running back in PPR scoring. So
yeah. Okay.
Still. Sam Howell is my number 2, and I call him Staring Sam Howell because all he does is stare down a single wide receiver each and every play. This is bad for NFL football, but it's good for us in fantasy football. It's so bad for football in regular NFL football that partial owner Magic Johnson is tweeting out his frustrations with the team after each and every game. No different after them losing to the New York Football Giants, which we predicted as 3-point underdogs. I think they were dogs, right? Yeah, to the Commanders. But he's doing it every single game. They only have 2 winnable games the rest of the season, and that is maybe the Patriots. They play them in like 4 weeks. And then maybe the Giants, who just beat them later on in the season. They go through the rest of the NFC East, and then they got out of conference schedule that is pretty damn brutal. I think it is the AFC East as well. I didn't look at those actual teams. I just went down who would win. Ron Rivera is going to get shit canned after this year. Maybe but before the year's done. Right? They only have 40 contracted players for next season with $91 million in cap space. So I don't know. It seems like Kirk Cousins wants to stay in Minnesota, right? He seems like a guy who his family's there and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that plays into him. But either Kirk Cousins is being their quarterback next year and he just finishes it out with that type of team. I don't know how dedicated he is to winning a Super Bowl and understanding that landscape, right? Like what team can he really go into and fit into that is Super Bowl ready or able to compete at that. But if he doesn't end up in Atlanta, I think he's in Washington. And they're also going to draft a quarterback in this year's draft to sit behind Cousins for a year or two if he doesn't end up in Washington. But that is that. But for what we do, right? We play and we bet overs for Scary Terry, McLaurin. Just plug him in your lineups unless he's up against a top tier cornerback in the NFL that is a shadow corner. In that case, we ride with Jahan Dotson because all he does is basically laser in on one receiver. You could watch this dude, and if he can't get the ball out of his hands in 5 seconds, right, without taking a sack, like this dude's leading the NFL in sacks. He's on pace to beat David Carr's record, but he's literally has
97.
tons of time in the pocket. And he is just sitting there because if one dude's covered, he can't come off of him, and he waits until the guy makes a second move to get uncovered. It's ridiculous. It's the craziest thing we've ever seen in football. Like, it's crazy. It's almost as crazy as like Josh McDaniels being the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. Kind of almost as ridiculous as what we're seeing in Green Bay with their coaching. What we've seen with Eberflus also. What we're seeing with Staley in Los Angeles. Like, Sam Howell is more ridiculous than all of that. It's more ridiculous than all these refs not calling penalties on any of the Eagles players, ripping face masks, doing blatant holds, all kinds of stuff down the field. But Sam Howell, no top tier corner with the shadow. Terry McLaurin is getting 100 yards. If he has a top tier corner with a partial shadow or a shadow in the game, Jahan Dotson, plug him in, ride it out. You'll win fantasy matchups.
Yes, Sam Howell is going to get his name in the record books, whether we want to accept it or not. He's going to have. He might be going for triple digits in the sack department. I think he's on pace for 97 right now. It's pretty crazy.
He's the best player on the defense. Like, that guy should be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. My final one here is going to be Deshaun Watson. So,
are we putting up these for the YouTube viewers?
No. We learned that shoulder injury he has, it's as serious as we thought. He's missed some time there. He practiced late last week and carried that questionable tag going into their matchup with Indy. He played and he was awful. I think I saw like 0 for 4 at one point with a pick. And then he got hit shortly thereafter, had some completions, but he left the game. I think they were testing for like a concussion, but it was a shoulder, kept him out. Not sure what his status is going forward. I'm assuming he's probably going to miss some more time, but the Browns won without Watson. But I don't know. You just can't trust his health, I think, until we see something on the field. So I have him in a couple leagues. I know our buddy Kendall has him rostered. So I think what we do is we just kind of hold on to him for now, pick up something off the waiver wire and just stream kind of in the meantime.
Yeah, I think this was excuse my French, pussy-ass move by Deshaun Watson. I don't think he wanted to play football. And I'm starting to wonder if he even wants to play NFL football or if he's about to pull a Jamarcus Russell. Because this dude fell, boom, hit his head. They evaluated for concussion. Then they checked the shoulder. And during the broadcast, they said that reports from the medical staff on the sideline was there was no issue with Deshaun Watson. And the coaching staff kept him out. And they decided to keep him out as a precautionary thing because he had no concussion symptoms and everything seemed as it was prior to the game for the shoulder. I don't know. This injury stuff is wild. I don't know if you're talking the injury stuff later on in this thing at all with maybe your boy Arthur Smith's team.
Don't even get me started. Don't get me started with that.
You can't sit there and have medical staff say nothing's wrong and then, we're keeping him out as a precaution. For what? For what? Nothing.
They bet all the unders, obviously.
Yeah. Not in that game because they couldn't stop anybody. Yeah. They literally won a game because Myles Garrett is the most freak human athlete on the planet Earth. And it is...
the Browns game? Yeah, that was insane.
So bad. My third one's going to be Derek Carr's footwork. This dude stinks. He double and triple hitches on throws that he's trying to throw 60 yards down the field, and he doesn't have the arm strength to throw it downfield. You see him throwing post patterns, and if he would just go off of his 5-step or his 7-step, even if he one hitches and goes, right, like, okay, boom, and then get a little momentum going forward and throw the pass on the field. His dudes are open by like 5 yards. But because he waits like 1, 2, and then it's like, oh, now I'm going to throw it. He's trying to throw it 60, 70 yards down the field. And he doesn't have it. And the ball just flies and floats. And then they're picks. Or his wide receivers are getting crushed. If this dude doesn't end up like just getting rid of the ball quick, right? What we saw from guys like Brock Purdy early in the year, or Tua early in the year as well, too, when they didn't have pressure in their face, is this 1, 2, 3 done, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 done? Like it's one and go. Like get the ball out. He has great wide receivers, great people to throw the ball to, and he's stuck having to do all these dump offs to Alvin Kamara. And in fantasy, if you have Alvin Kamara, you love it. I love it right now. I have Alvin Kamara. The guy's catching 12 passes a game. Fuck it. Like the guy's gonna break the wrist. He's gonna not have played 3 games and break a reception record. Like that's how crazy it is, right? Like obviously exaggerating, but it's amazing for us in fantasy football. But it's not good for the New Orleans Saints because they can't win ball games this way. The dude just needs to get it out quicker. But what I'm doing with this too is like, if there's a team who could put pressure on this guy, right? Because they do have longer routes in their type of offense, and he likes to throw those routes in as part of what they do. If you have a team that can do pressure, go ahead and bet Derek Carr to throw an interception. Bet his passing yards under, and then bet Kamara over receptions. Teams that can't create pressure, he usually has an okay time getting rid of the ball in time or whatever, but man, like this stuff is bad for our receivers in fantasy football as well. Like you can't have dudes that are just holding onto the ball forever and expect them to produce high level numbers, right? Like they just don't have sustained drives when you hold onto the ball as a quarterback. So something to look at, something to think about. And then as it goes on, if he can get rid of the ball quicker and he's not sitting there 1, 2, and then trying to throw 70 yards down the field or even 30 yards down the field, like you have to get rid of the ball on timing, right? In the NFL. And he's not doing it. And it's all because of his feet. Like he's just not moving and getting to where he needs to be to set himself up off that last, step, whether it's a 5 or a 7-step drop. His feet are not where they're supposed to be, so he has to hitch, and go. So that's my Derek Carr thing. The Saints are going to lose a lot of games because of it. And they might end up losing the damn division to this Atlanta Falcons team. And then they're going to keep freaking Sam Ritter. And I like the guy mostly because he beat Notre Dame. And I want to see him succeed because he pretty much stinks. And I like guys who stink. And I want them to succeed and do well. But it's not going to look good for the New Orleans Saints and them getting Derek Carr. Let's move on to fantasy players that we find scary. So I wrote this down as scary fantasy players for the rest of the season, whether they are good or bad for us, for anybody out there, and we don't have to talk about what we're doing with them or nothing like that, but players that scare us, right? Whether it's for us or against us. You can go.
You gave me the perfect segue. Thank you. That is just phenomenal podcast hosting on your part. Mine is Alvin.
You're way better at this than me, but yeah.
Mine is Alvin Kamara. I didn't even put that in the notes, so
nice.
I don't know how you figured that out. Teams that drafted him, though, they knew he was suspended right for the first few weeks of the season, so they likely had running backs in place before Alvin came back. He's back now, and you talked a little bit about what he's done so far. He's been a stud. Week 4, that was his first game back. 17 for 62 on the ground. It's okay for a running back. 12 catches on 14 targets for 91 yards through the air. Let's go. That's like a receiver's line, but more catches, so we'll take it. Week 5, 19 carries for 68 yards on the ground. So for a running back. He caught 7 of 8 passes for 36 yards. That's like another 10.6 full PPR. That's another wide receiver line. That is phenomenal. Week 6, Nate, 22 carries. Holy shit. 80 yards and a touchdown. Only caught 3 balls on 3 targets for 17 through the air, but he cashed in the touchdown there, so we'll take that. And then this last week, week 7, 11 for 51 on the ground. That's a decent running back stat line there, but 13 catches on 14 targets for 33 yards through the air. Good God. He has been great. That is 17 fantasy points so far as a floor, and then about 30 as his ceiling. So there might be teams out there that are flexing Kamara. I have this going on in 1 or 2 leagues. That should scare you. Be scared if you see Kamara in your opponent's lineup because he's reprised his role as an elite pass catcher out of the backfield. And you talked about kind of some of the reasons why Derek Carr's dancing around and just giving him dump off after dump off after dump off. So I'm a little scared. I'm scared when I see him in someone's lineup. You should be too.
Were you scared this weekend when you saw him in my lineup?
Terrified. Terrified. Yeah. Terrified.
I could see it in your face when we were playing pickleball in the morning before NFL kickoff. And I was like, oh man, Tony's over here shooting lasers. He brought his ringer son to beat me and my daughter. And like, I lost 2 nights in a row. Didn't win a match of pickleball. It was pretty bad for me. Bad weekend in pickleball. But I'm starting to think, maybe I'm dating Travis Kelce right now because it's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Kadarius Toney, my pickleball skills. You beat me and another adult with my 9-year-old daughter who played pickleball competitively for the first time ever, and she was dominating us too. So I had her on my team, and then your son's over here, lasers all over the damn court. No. Man, I saw it in your eyes, though.
When these kids are teenagers, they're going to be destroying people on the pickleball court. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
They're in Jedi training right now.
That's all they want to do. So,
yeah.
All right, my number 1 scariest player for the rest of the season is going to be Trevor Lawrence. He's a player that many of us had taking a step to the elite tier of fantasy quarterback. And this dude is out here winning football games. But you know who else is winning football games, Tony? Kenny Pickett. And we could give a fuck about Kenny Pickett. And right now I can give a fuck about Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne is dominating the run game for this team right now. It's kind of like what Doug Peterson does. So I don't know why this didn't cue in the head. Maybe it was just like don't believe Etienne is that dude. So they're going to have to pass the ball. But this is what Peterson did when he was in Philadelphia as well, right? He won a Super Bowl with Carson Wentz. They were dominating, and I don't know how many games he won. It felt like it was 10. Then they won a Super Bowl with Nick Foles, right? Like the guy knows how to run the ball, and he knows how to scheme up a good defense because their defense is damn good as well. Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, Evan Ingram. Apparently, it doesn't matter how many great pass catchers you have, but that's what we have to understand when it comes to fantasy football players. But when I took a stand earlier in the season, before the season, on Lamar Jackson being a guy I wouldn't draft because I can get Trevor Lawrence around that area. And I might have even let this pains me because I'm watching Lamar Jackson and I wanted to put him in one of my things, but I didn't because I didn't want to be like reactionary like the rest of the crowd may be right now. But I let Lamar Jackson. I had a team that had, I think it was Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson on it. And I let both of those quarterbacks go because I figured in the first round of the keeper draft, after all of our 6 keepers were kept or whatever, and maybe the 7th, I can get a guy like Trevor Lawrence because everybody else had quarterbacks, right? Why are you going to draft a quarterback there when you fill out the rest of your team? And I let Lamar go to the ether. And, I also have a Trevor Lawrence to throw 30 passing touchdowns prop, and it scares me because I'm invested in this passing game throughout all my leagues as well. Like I'm heavy into it, right? And it's not performing, and I don't think it's going to perform as weather gets colder. Granted, some of the teams in the division, I think they've already played one of them twice. That's a dome team, or they've already played on the road against Houston or Indianapolis, one of those or whatever like that. But, they have some teams in the dome. They play in the Southwest, so weather's usually pretty good, whatever like that. I think they have to go to Tennessee, so that plays into it with weather and passing and all that kind of stuff. But it's not like the offenses in their division are prolific, right?
No.
So do they need to pass the ball a bunch? Do they need to put their quarterback at risk when they can just run the ball? The thing's a little bit scary to me as they play, favorable fall, winter areas in the greatest nation of planet Earth, and 2 of their division teams are in domes. But they play Tennessee. It's outdoor. I don't know what to think about it, but it scares me because I'm heavily invested in it, and I think it's ruining my fantasy year right now because I love Evan Ingram. I've been the Evan Ingram guy for
Oh yeah, huge
half a
stand.
decade, right? So I'm a big Evan Ingram guy. I've loved Zay Jones since he came in the league. Have Christian Kirk in some spots. Have Ridley in the league of record, and it's hard to watch Calvin Ridley get 1.7 fantasy points. You start to wonder, like, what did Calvin Ridley bet this week? Let me fix my lineup based off of what
Unders.
Calvin. Yeah, obviously. So, it's rough, man, and it's terrible for a lot of us fantasy people because you draft Trevor Lawrence to be a top 5 or top 6, 7 quarterback this year,
Yeah.
and the dude's sitting around 14, 15 the entire season. And does it get better? Do you turn it up in the wintertime? I don't think so. So it scares me.
Yeah. That is pretty scary. The Calvin Ridley thing is maybe even worse. I have him in a keeper league, and that is terrifying for me.
It feels like I'm just trying to take a little bit of humble pie right now because maybe it'll make me feel better.
Yeah,
it's not because I want to. If I listen to this after, I'm going to be depressed.
Yeah, some good karma swinging your way. I see what you're doing here.
Mm-hmm.
My next one is Zack Moss. So people playing against Moss should probably be scared because he is producing. The dude people picked up off the waiver wire for the cheap. Coming into week 7, he was the overall RB5 in PPR formats. Jonathan Taylor managers, though, they're the ones who should primarily be scared. Moss's success, if he stays in Indy, is going to continue to earn him carries and touches throughout the season. So JT, he's never going to reach that ceiling. I know people got a discount on him because he was holding out, but I think like this last week against Cleveland, I forget what he did on the ground. I think he hit the end zone, but that's probably his ceiling, right? Unless Moss goes somewhere else or gets injured. They paid him a lot of money. They're probably going to want to keep Moss there. That's kind of how I feel, just to protect him. This isn't the year they're going to win the Super Bowl, not with Gardner Minshew turning the ball over 4 times in a game. But yeah, Zack Moss is my second player here. A little scared of him if I'm the Jonathan Taylor owner.
Yeah, especially
manager.
So they scored damn near 40 points in that game, and Jonathan Taylor had 75 yards, a touchdown. He had 3 catches for 45, right?
Yep.
I don't know. They got around the same split or whatever like that. Jonathan Taylor seemed to produce more out of it. I don't know what to think there, to be honest. But it's definitely kind of scary. My second one's going to be Jordan Love. Jordan Love is infatuated with throwing the deep ball, and he's not accurate in doing that. They are getting away from doing the basics in that offense, and I believe it is a lot to do with Aaron Jones being injured. When you see Aaron Jones off the field, the offense looks completely different. And if this guy, it's coaching, it's coordinating, it is the players on the field, it's all of it, right? But they don't have Christian Watson to burn down the field. And he's like the guy who stretches the field. Dobbs can do it a little bit, but he's more big-bodied, right? Like, he's not going to be like burning people or anything like that. But Jordan Love's infatuated with it, and it stalls drives. Like, they'll do it on a 2nd and something, 2nd and 4 or something like that, and they'll throw a deep shot, misses it because it's terrible and everybody knows it's coming, and then they go run it up the gut with A.J. Dillon, and he gets stuffed. Like, and you're kicking the ball, right?
Over and over.
Over and over and over and over. And they don't matriculate the ball down the field. That's a really cool word, matriculate. I'm glad it came to my brain right there. But right now, that type of play is putting the Green Bay Packers in position to be the team that I predicted them to be, which was someone competing for the first overall pick in the draft. Granted, we're sitting here with Arizona and Carolina playing NFL football. We got the New York Giants playing NFL football. We got the Las Vegas Raiders playing NFL football. But it scares me because I'm so heavy on Dobbs, right? And I have some Aaron Jones stuff. But if he cannot sit there and do the basics of throwing little dig routes, throwing little slants, throwing these bubble screens, getting the ball out to the dump off guy, right? The release valve or the safety valve or, the check down or whatever. You saw that in the Denver Broncos game. They just need to get in the field goal range to win a ball game at elevation. And this dude throws it in a double coverage 45 yards down the field when they're around the middle of the field. And you look to the left where the check down is, and there's A.J. Dillon sitting there without anybody within 20 yards of him. he's catching that thing with momentum, and you got a safety or something coming at him, he might be able to break a little tackle, get you in the field goal range. If not, get you to the next down. You could possibly get yourself there, kick an elevation field goal for a win against Denver Broncos. He's not doing it, and it's going to stall all of the fantasy scoring for us in fantasy football, and we're going to be reliant on this defense that's not really all that great to get a turnover in the positive side of the field, and then hope like hell Romeo Doubs can catch a touchdown for us, because Luke Musgrave's hurt now too, and he's kind of a safety valve over the middle. Christian Watson's hurt. It's just going downhill. The Packers are going to be a team that's going to be in contention for a quarterback this year, and I think they should draft one, and I think they should draft one quick, trade something away. They have good wide receivers, good tight end, good running back room. He doesn't get a lot of help in the pass protection department, but at the same time, you have to get rid of the ball quick.
Yeah.
The reason why you don't have help in the pass protection department is because you don't get rid of the ball quick. So everybody just sends out.
That's a problem.
Yeah. It's terrible. It's scary. Jordan Love is scary to me. And all those people at the beginning of the season after 1 or 2 games, and Jordan Love sit behind a Hall of Famer and a coach, same coach in the same offensive scheme for 3 years holding a clipboard. This is the key to success. Not with this dude.
Yeah, we were optimistic. I don't think we were overreacting after the preseason and, weeks 1 and 2 where they looked okay. But Aaron, you should be scared, if you are rostering Aaron Jones too. Like, they said it was a minor hamstring injury, and he could have come back in when he pulled it in week 1 or week 2, whenever it happened. It's like that's been a month. It's been over a month,
and it looks still not bad.
Yeah, he's still not at 100%. So
he looked bad the other day.
I'd argue he's at like 70%, 60% or something like that.
It feels like it might have been close to a season-ending thing, and they're trying to figure it out and see if he can come back. So it sucks.
Yeah, it does suck. Cool. My last one here. It's going to be Samuel Esteban LaPorta. Coming into week 7, LaPorta was the tight end 2 behind only Travis Kelce. Understand that rank there. He went as the 18th tight end off the board, or the 163rd player drafted overall if he was drafted in your league, period. So if a team has this guy, they did not pay up like a team with, Travis Kelce or Mark Andrews did. You should be afraid, because that team is likely loaded at wide receiver or running back, or they grabbed, one of those top stud quarterbacks. Really impressed though with LaPorta so far. This rookie tight end class in general, like they've been very impressive. You mentioned Musgrave, Michael Mayer kind of showed what he can do, I think, a couple weeks ago. Super impressed, super scared of Samuel Esteban LaPorta.
Yeah. This sucks, Tony.
Let's hear it.
My third one is going to be George Kittle, tight end, 49ers. I think we'd all agree that George Kittle is one of the most talented tight ends in the entire NFL. He's probably the most well-rounded tight end, like best all-complete tight end, right? He's a phenomenal pass catcher. It'd be crazy to see what he would do in a system like Kansas City, right? But the Niners need him to block.
They do.
And you brought this up when I sat there and we were doing the over-under for tight end yards, right, for the season. And I think he was, forget what he was at, probably close to 800 or something like that, or 600, 700, whatever it was. And I was like, easy over, right? And you're like, well, the problem is he has to block there. And Nate, you brought up the fact that they have 2 new dudes on the right side of the line, and then what happens if Trent Williams gets hurt? And on the season, to include Monday Night Football that just passed, we have George Kittle with a healthy 18 receptions on the year. This is week 7 recap, right? 18 receptions. That's 2.5 catches per game-ish. 216 yards and 3 touchdowns that all came in one game. And tonight, this dude, he sat there against Minnesota. He had 7 targets, 5 receptions for 78 yards. And a lot of that was just because they had no one else to catch the ball, You're relying on Juwan Jennings. They look like they tried to switch it up a little bit by leaving guys like McCaffrey or the running back, and then allowing Kittle to get out into the field, hoping that it can open up Ayuk a little bit more, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Deebo Samuel is the guy who goes opposite or creates layers and levels to the passing game to open up Ayuk in the deeper routes and on those big drags and all that kind of stuff you see, where he's just behind corners for 10 yards in front of the safety by 10 yards. George Kittle's needed to block. You got Trent Taylor, who's out right now with an ankle, and that spells really bad for the 49ers because they need to be able to protect off the left side because teams are just like both of these tackles are nobodies. They're going to get ate up, and this offense is built off timing, and if you could disrupt that timing, we saw what happened last week against Cleveland. We saw what happened this week against Minnesota. We saw what happened last year in the playoffs against Philadelphia. It all goes to shit because everything is based off of get to that last step in a drop, sling it. And if your wide receivers are not healthy to get you there, if the line isn't healthy to be able to protect for that amount of time for a 7-step drop, and you're having to run and throw off your foot and all, it's going to be bad for the 49ers. But I'm not confident. If you have George Kittle, you have to play him. Like, there's nobody out there who's going to be able to do what George Kittle can do, and you just kind of have to eat that bullet. But it is definitely going to be a thing going into next year. It's a thing for all of the props. Like, is he going to catch over his pass it? Probably not, man. Like, there's so many games. I think it's like 4 games he's caught 1 pass, 2 passes, or something like that. And the others are like 5-3 and 7 or 3-3-7 or something like that, right? So George Kittle, it's scary because if you roster him, you probably spent like a 4th, 5th round pick on him. And there's a lot of dudes in that area where you should be getting production out of, and you're hoping to win at the tight end position. You're just not. It's almost like a guy who's just a streamable dude who's going to pop off and has talent, right? So kind of like what we did with Kyle Pitts over the first 3 weeks of the season. But until the Niners are fully healthy, it's going to be hard to play this dude because they go home and they got to play Cincinnati next week, right? And Cincinnati's like, hey, this is a game that we're probably going to lose, but we have a shot to make the playoffs as a wild card. We need to catch the Ravens. They got some, smelling a little bit of blood in the water. This is how we get to this team. He's going to have to block. They can't have backs just out there trying to block. So George Kittle, scary player the rest of the way for me.
Yeah.
You told me so. Damn it. That's the worst part about it.
I thought we reached consensus on that, but yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on to our draft. Also, in honor of Halloween, we decided that we would draft our top 5 scariest athletes of all time. I think this is kind of fun. We were talking about, do we do it in the NFL or do we do it over all sports? Let's do it all sports because we're already in the NFL. Talked about a little bit of scary NFL players for this season. All time scariest athletes. Tony, do you want the 1 or do you want the number 2?
I don't know what angle you're going to play on this one, so I want to see. I want to see. Sports. All right, I want to see your first pick, and then I'll decide. So I'll take the turn.
My number 1 is going to be Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, when playing with the San Francisco Giants, literally had more walks than hits in a season. Like, the guy was just getting walks. Like, it felt like he got intentionally walked more times than he got pitches thrown to him. And I watched this dude. I think I've said it on here before. I watched him bat against Eric Gagne in a 9th inning at Pac Bell. That's wherever they play now in Oracle Park in San Francisco, in the park they built for Barry Bonds to hit into the water and have people in their little canoe shits and all that kind of stuff, right? And this is in the peak of Eric Gagne's like 80-something save streak that he was juicing into, throwing 103 miles an hour. The radars hit 102, I believe it was. Barry Bonds pulled it foul over the 3rd deck, 40 feet to the right. Insane. And the entire, like, I got goosebumps, like my hairs right here, stick it up. I could shave again, Tony. I did it earlier with that last, week's one. But it was like the most silent place I've been in after that because everyone's like, oh, and then it just got dead quiet. And it was kind of eerie, like you're buried alive 6 feet under. But the only player I could ever think about or imagine or remember getting walked in the World Series against the Los Angeles Angels with bases loaded because teams would rather let up 1 run than allow Barry Bonds an opportunity to hit a ball.
Yeah.
Barry Bonds is my number one scariest athlete of all time.
Nice. We went way different angles here, so this will be good. Cool. Way different angles.
You went with ugly people. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. First one, Jimmy G. Just kidding.
I asked. You started writing it down. Just not.
Not ugly. So I had a lot of facts about the players on my list. I thought about it, and just out of respect to the people who may have been on the other end of this, I'm not going to go into that. But I'm still going to use the players because this does still apply. First one's going to be Ray Lewis. Literally killed somebody. Terrifying on the field, terrifying off the field. I wish I could do the dance because it's really cool. Dude's still like a broadcaster for the NFL. I don't understand it, but yeah, give me Ray Lewis for my first pick.
It's kind of wild how everybody gives Deshaun Watson shit, not Ray Lewis.
Yeah, he's probably talked about Deshaun Watson too. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know if he's still on the shows. Like I don't really watch the shows, but I know he was in recent past.
And Ray Rice. He talks shit about Ray Rice.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, he. So I can speak to this. Obstruction of justice was one of the charges against Ray Lewis. The suit he was wearing, he destroyed it. Just because obviously had blood on it. The dude did pass, but enough of that. My next one is Aaron Hernandez. Terrifying on the field, terrifying off the field. Found guilty in killing Odin Lloyd. That was tragedy. What really pisses me off about this is he played at Florida when Urban Meyer was the coach down there, and there was multiple incidents with I think just
everybody but Tebow
violence or whatever. And Tebow broke up a bar fight or something where Aaron was just going to town on these dudes. And then there's also a drive-by where people were shot, and all this stuff was just swept under the rug, probably by the school. And we could have nipped this in the bud back then, but they, prioritized on-field success and probably, the green money, cash over just human life. And then later Aaron went on to do what he did. I think he murdered 2 people in total, but that sucks.
Nice.
So yeah, Aaron Hernandez with my second pick. This is just a depressing list. I regret doing this.
Yeah, you're terrible. Can I should probably just take 2 of yours right now. Because, I could take the guy in the white Bronco. I could take the guy who eats human flesh, right? And,
oh God.
But yeah, my number 2 is going to be the guy who eats human flesh, and that's Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, I remember you used to try to scramble when we had those scramble boxes, right? To get HBO and all the nudie channels and all that kind of stuff, right? But you do it to watch boxing and stuff like that. This is the Fire Stick before the Fire Stick, right? We actually created whole boxes to break a coax cable connection, not the internet, right? Get on our level, Y2K. But I don't know is that a generation, right?
Apparently.
Chitsy.
There you go.
Yeah. But Mike Tyson, people would pay $50 to watch a pay-per-view, right? Or $40, whatever it was back then in the 90s. And you had to be there watching it as the fight started, before the fight started, because if you had to go use the restroom or you went to the fridge to grab another brewski, the fight was over because this dude was just clocking dudes with one punch. Yeah. The scariest dude to ever get in a ring with. I don't know how. I think it was Roy Jones fought him in a ring recently, in one of those whatever celeb fights that was a bamboozlement for pay-per-view money. But even now you look at Mike Tyson, it's holy crap. I remember, I think Joe Rogan had him on the show, and Joe Rogan said, I felt like I needed a bigger table. We have this, he had the smaller table in the LA studio. He has a much wider table in his Austin studio because of Mike Tyson. Because he was Joe Rogan's a big dude, right? But he was I was deathly afraid of that dude. And then the moment he started losing the fight, right? Granted, he did lose prior. Who did he lose to prior to that? Was it no, it wasn't. Was it Buster Douglas who beat him?
I think it was Buster.
Buster Douglas beat him, I believe it was, or he beat. I forget who he beat, but anyways, fast forward to Evander Holyfield, and Holyfield's dotting him up because he's an actual boxer or whatever like that, and he bit the dude's ear off in the middle of the ring, like it was just normal, it was just normal and it just happened. And he lives every day of his life like, yeah, I did that. Like, it's part of my life. Like, what the fuck, man? Like, holy crap. Mike Tyson, the scariest dude to meet in a dark alleyway, in a lit up alleyway, around 375 police officers. Never want to be around that dude. He is so fucking scary. My number 3 is going to be Myles Garrett. We saw him play this weekend for the Cleveland Browns. Maybe some recency bias, but my IDP fantasy football team says otherwise because I've won championships because of this dude. This dude is a menace on the defensive line, and he basically scores linebacker points for you. But can you imagine you're a kicker in the NFL and you're just spotted up, whatever, easy peasy little 3-point field goal here, right? Like they're going to push up against the line, and then from a 4-point stance, you see a dude jump over a guard and a center without touching them from a 4-point stance. And here comes 285 pounds of 6'6" flesh. Just like people are saying that they see Bigfoot from these skies and all this kind of stuff. But there can't be anything more scary than that, right? Like, it looks like one of those old Marvel comic books of like Spawn or whoever these crazy characters are or whatever like that in these universes, DC or whatever, whoever Spider-Man was, enemies with, and the kid's dad or something like that, Green something, I forget what it was. But
Green Goblin.
Can you imagine like I get scared when someone comes around the corner and goes, right? But you're in an NFL game. You're like a 175-pound kicker, 5'8", and you're just like, hey, I got a golden leg, golden toe, whatever. I'm inside a dome. Easy peasy, boom, 3. We're going to win this ball game, and here comes a guy. You can't even see him. Like, when you're standing there, you couldn't see him because your offensive line is blocking him, and 6'6", 285, just literally leaped from a 4-point stance. Scariest shit you could ever see in your life. Myles Garrett is my number 3.
Can you do the Myles Garrett one more time, jumping over the line?
From a 4-point stance.
It's really good.
Oh, good. Man. I got that. That's part of a thumbnail or something like that.
Yeah, there you go. It's ridiculous.
Holy shit. That's so scary, dude. It's so scary.
This is very scary. Your list is good so far. My next 2, you already spoiled it. O.J. Simpson, the white Bronco. Another one, terrifying on the field, terrifying off the field. He did the crime that he didn't do because the glove didn't fit.
But if he did do it,
it'd be scarier. Also served some time for like armed robbery and kidnapping later on. So just a lot of crazy boxes that he's checking. But I'm scared just kind of recapping his career here.
It's so crazy because he sat there and wrote a book called If I Did Do It. And it basically was everything that they had evidence for. Holy shit. Have you seen
his pair of gloves in my glove box that don't fit? Step one.
Yeah. Have you seen his Twitter? You ever look at his Twitter and this crazy shit he posts?
No.
Or his videos, dude? It's kind of creepy. Hello, Twitterverse. And he's talking about all these people with like domestic charges and like, run-ins with the law. It's pretty crazy. Yeah. Scary.
That is crazy. Next one. So Robert Rozier did some time for petty crimes, was released. Then he joined this secret group called the Brotherhood. I'm going to get into the details because I think a lot of people don't know about this dude. I didn't know about this dude, had to do some research. But to get into the Brotherhood, members had to murder a white devil, whatever that means, and return with a body part to prove it. Obviously found guilty, went to jail, later admitted to killing not 1, not 2, but freaking 7 white devils. So
Holy
pretty terrifying.
Shit.
I think my pigments got me covered, but the 7, that's insane. And returned with body parts for each of them. That's crazy. And was in the NFL at one point. I don't know what position or team he played for, but yeah, trying to keep all my picks.
His Wikipedia says Robert Ernest Rozier is an American murderer.
Who also played football for a time. Does it talk about that at all?
Black supremacist, the Brotherhood. I'm trying to see who he played for. I'll figure it out and I'll let you know.
Okay, cool. Scared. I'm scared.
Yeah. All right. I got my last two here.
Yep.
Defensive end. Sorry, I got to figure this out. Oakland Raiders, of course. Oh, shit. He played for the Raiders. That's terrible because he's a murderer. My number 4 is going to be Khabib Nurmagomedov. In the UFC, Khabib Nurmagomedov finished his career undefeated after beating the shit out of everybody he could possibly beat the shit out of. And this dude is just the biggest smothering dude of all time. Doesn't matter what you do, you try to punch him. The best strikers in the world, McGregor at his peak, and he sat there and he'll take you down. He's so heavy, he can control your body. You could try to do whatever you want to do. Eventually, you're going to end up on your back, getting your face smashed in. And this dude is so calm in doing it that he'll talk to you about life and all the bad decisions that you've made while he's beating the shit out of your face and you're struggling to even like block a shot, try to get up, get away from him, and you just can't. The dude is like ultra, whatever you call that, Western Russian, that whole area that's really bad in the world. One of those stands, you know what I mean? Kazakhstans or something like. I don't know. I'm probably
Eastern Europe type.
Yeah, Eastern
wrestles
Europe.
With bears.
Yeah, like they grow up wrestling with bear cubs and stuff like that. Where I don't know if you watched this last UFC event, Tony, but every one of those dudes on the card wins, and they all do it.
Chechens or whatever.
They're so fucking badass, like Kamzat and all these dudes, right? Like they are nasty, but this dude is the nastiest of them all, and now he trains all of them as well. One dude you do not want to get on the bad side of. Connor threw a chair at a bus and Khabib beat the shit out of him for it. Like everything's personal. Probably, I don't know. I'd rather pitch to Barry Bonds than make that guy mad. I'd probably rather have my ear bitten off than make that dude mad. And I'd probably rather be a kicker in the NFL against the Browns than make that dude mad. Khabib is my number 4. Khabib. Well, my last one. Let's go like real sports, I guess. My last one would probably be. It'd be Michael Jordan. And it's not because of his, all of his defensive player of the year accomplishments, because he's considered the greatest basketball player of all time, because of all his scoring and everything else that he did, right? And him just being a complete assassin on the court. It would be because if I were defending him, I would be afraid to be put on a poster because he would look to put me on a poster and I would not be able to collect royalties from it because it would be a Michael Jordan poster, because you wouldn't be able to see my face in it because my face would be buried in his crotch just like everybody else in the league, Patrick Ewing. And then it was so bad that they were at an all-star game and Mutombo was like, yo, you ain't dunked on me. And he's like, I ain't dunked on you. And then like 2 weeks later after the all-star break, he's playing the Houston Rockets and just dunked all over him, waves the finger at him like, I got you finally, or whatever. That's like awesome. That. I would pick Michael Jordan as my last one solely because I couldn't make any money off the posters because my face would be buried in his crotch. You wouldn't be able to tell it was me. So Michael Jordan is my number 5.
You'd probably be able to tell because of your arms. You got the basketball jersey.
Yeah, it'd probably be because the only reason they'd be able to figure it out is because I'd be wearing long sleeves on the basketball court. And they're like, oh, that's
why is this dude wearing a hoodie?
The guy wears a hoodie under his uniform. Like, what the fuck? So, yeah, that's my last one.
Nice. My last one. This dude was a threat between the tackles, catching passes out of the backfield, and probably would have played another 4 or 5 years. Probably playing for the Patriots right now. Let's be honest. But he didn't keep his head on straight. And I've had a fear of elevators for a long time. And it dates back to around 2014 when Ray Rice assaulted and I believe knocked out his fiance in an elevator. So last pick, Ray Rice. You mentioned him earlier. You mentioned like 3 of my picks before I even said them. Yeah. And I did not put any of that in the notes. So good job.
Yeah, nice. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I had Michael Vick on here. I'm a dog lover, so that's fine. I had another one, like you probably have to Google, but Jim Dunaway, dude fractured his wife's skull and then threw her in the pool.
Holy shit.
Killed her and then later just tried to get rid of the body or make it look like an accident. His kids actually filed a wrongful death suit. against him, which
Mm-hmm.
I think it's how he landed in jail, but pretty insane.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. My other ones I had were
Yeah.
Steph Curry. Just it's got to be terrible to try to guard this dude. Like it's got to be frightening to, unless you're Victor Wembanyama, and then you just block him from standing 7 feet
Oh,
away
God.
from him. That dude's so nasty. But Steph Curry, watched De'Aaron Fox try to guard him in preseason, and De'Aaron Fox is fast, and Steph Curry created like 4 feet of separation from 29 feet out and busted a 3 right in his eye, and then he could burn you, go into the hoop and all that kind of stuff. He has great passing ability. I had Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce combo as one. There could be 12 seconds left in a game. We saw this in big primetime matchups, right? It's like, they got no time left on the clock essentially, and they're like, fuck it, just throw it to me. I'm doing this, right? And it's not, half of it's not even scripted. They just know each other so well. I think that combo is better than anything that Brady had, and I think I'd fear Patrick Mahomes leading a team with 40 seconds left at the 25 more than I would fear Tom Brady at any point of his career. Maybe that's a blasphemy take. Let me know in the comments if I'm dumb. I had Lawrence Taylor,
That's good.
Astro Theismann, and then I had John Jones in the UFC. Especially if your name's Daniel Cormier. So, all right. Ooh. Let us know in the comments who you think drafted better. Tony has Ray Rice, Aaron Hernandez, OJ Simpson, Robert Rozier, and Ray Rice. Did I say that already?
OJ Simpson? You said Ray Rice twice.
Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis is number 1. Go. I have Barry Bonds, Mike Tyson, Myles Garrett, and then Khabib Nurmagomedov and Michael Jordan as my top 5 scariest athletes of all time.
Do you need me to do one? Do I need to do one of those two to get you a thumbnail?
We got to keep it close because the wider it is, it's harder to make it. That's good. You guys just watch thumbnails be made.
Please, if you watched on YouTube, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Goddamn ridiculous.
Hit the damn like if you're here. It's been an hour. Let's move on. We're going to go with rants or raves. Tony, do you have a rant or rave?
So I've been bitching nonstop on the show, in this section, on other shows, in other sections. I've been complaining, even in the top of mind segments. 2 weeks ago, I think I even had 2 rants when, standard operating procedure dictates that we just do one. So I'm raving, and I'm raving about your efforts here with the show, the podcast, the YouTube stuff, all the graphics, all the, the writing you do here. Your writing, leading us on here, co-hosting, picking winners, taking care of all of the editing again on YouTube, doing all that stuff while also being a single dad. Props to you. Not sure how you find the time or when you sleep, because I know you're doing it at night. You're doing great work, man. Keep it up.
What do you want?
What do I want?
Yeah.
I'm doing this for free. I don't need to get paid. We're good.
You want something. God damn it, Tony. You have like concert tickets or a comedy show ticket, or you're going to see Bert Kreischer here, like
Christmas is coming up and I have a list. I will send it to you.
God damn it. You're not getting rights to the show.
God damn it.
I don't think you want them. It's negative. So
I would owe the IRS tax money or something.
Yeah. I'm really bad with compliments, but thanks. I don't sleep and it's bad. So, but it's fun and people keep subscribing for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe they like watching us lose money on picking winners. That's where a lot of them come from, but people watch this too. And it's pretty cool. So, that's cool. Thanks. Damn it. I don't want to thanks for just doing the show with me. I'll say that because a lot of times it's like hard to find a co-host. We've gone around and picked here or there or whatever like that, but having a consistent schedule has been fun. So, and it's probably like the only time we talk during the week unless we're playing pickleball or something like that. So, it's pretty cool. Fair. I'm going to rant a little bit about the NFL. The NFL needs to get rid of all of its sportsbook sponsorships. It is a very bad look for this league when you have all of this stuff coming out about scripting and you're promoting sportsbooks. That means that you're getting money from sportsbooks every time that they sign up with a code or where did you hear this from, right? Like the sponsorship deal, they're making millions and millions and millions of dollars off of these sportsbooks because they got signage everywhere or do this, or the NFL Network, hey, I'm betting this on DraftKings, right? Anytime they mention that stuff, ESPN as well. Like, I get it's fun and everybody's doing it, and it's super good for business, and it's the highest marketed thing that's in sports right now. It's hot. It's spreading across the U.S. But you cannot sit here and have all these terrible officiating calls. I mean, granted, it won me $200 from a survivor pool. Happy to win it, right? Because that money's already spent. And but I did spend it tonight. But
oh my god.
Yeah, I got to get another Zach Wilson jersey. I need a white one to go with the black one. It'll be here over the weekend, so next week you'll see my Zach Wilson jersey. But you cannot have in the Colts-Browns game a ball that is completely uncatchable, so much that it bounced into the front row of stands that is about 10 feet high, and a fan caught it, and expect people not to believe that a game is rigged. Like, you can't have the Philadelphia Eagles have no penalties when there's blatant face masks, blatant holds. They did call one penalty, so it was offsetting, right? And it was actually wrong because it was Jason Kelsey's left hand on the ground as the center, and they thought it was the guard.
I saw that.
They thought it was the guard's hand, which was terrible or whatever like that, right? But you cannot keep doing these things and having certain teams being perceived as getting, a better shake at the end of the day, I guess you would say. Like, this is 2 weeks in a row with the Browns, right? And all this stuff that they do in marketing, and then have these teams and players do specific things and the outcomes come a certain way, and not expect people to believe that you're cooking books. You need to get out of the sportsbook promotions because it is a very bad look for the league. And at some point, there are going to be these refs or these players that are going to be dealing with this stuff, and you're going to pin it all on them, but you're the one promoting all of that stuff as well. Find other avenues. Like, Doritos always got new flavors coming out. Put that on the screen, right? Little Caesars Pizza, something like that. We're open for sponsorship if you like Little Caesars also. Official pizza partner of the NFL. So that's what we eat here on Thursdays in my house. Go grab a Little Caesars Pizza. Thursday Night Football.
Wait. You're not gonna come out here and say that there's been like an NBA official who's been part of some type of scheme before, who got thrown under the bus or something like that, right? That hasn't happened before.
Right now I'm focused on the NFL, and I don't need the PTSD from the Sacramento Kings getting robbed of a championship against the fucking Los Angeles Lakers because of Donaghy.
Tim Donaghy. This shit's happened before. Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I think it's happening in the NFL.
Sometimes there is some weird shit that makes you ask some questions, and that's all we're doing. We're just asking questions.
Yeah. Yeah, the Cleveland Browns let up 40 points to the fucking Indianapolis Colts and Gardner Minshew after they're deemed the best defense since the 1970s, and the league scoring is completely down across the board. So,
yeah, by a lot.
Yep. If you're here still, thanks for watching. You can follow the show on YouTube. If you're not over on YouTube and you're listening to this on audio, go to the YouTube, hit subscribe, share it with somebody, especially your dad. We found out that dads like listening to this show. We had somebody comment or shoot me a text after the last episode and was like, hey, that dad comment was pretty funny because my dad listens to the show all the time or whatever like that. Like, it's a thing or whatever like that. And I know there's a couple other dads out there, like older dads, like in the 60, 70-year-old, that are just finding out what a podcast is, and they learned how to do YouTube and stuff like that. I was on the YouTube, and they have a YouTube channel for, or whatever like that. Like, it doesn't have a number or nothing, Nate, but it's a channel. So share it with a friend if you enjoy it, if you're still here, right? And maybe they enjoy it, maybe they don't. Maybe they know somebody that enjoys it. If you didn't enjoy it, share it with somebody so they don't enjoy it anyways, right? Hit the like button. Let us know in the comments who your scariest players are for the rest of the season, who your all-time scariest players are in all of sports. What do you learn? Do you think what we learned in week 7 is good, or do you think it's bad? Do you think Tony's a terrible co-host because he's trying to butter me up to get something out of me? Let us know the conspiracies in the comments, and let us know what you think about NFL officiating. Anything else for the people, Tony?
Yes. I didn't start that.
Thank you for saying no.
I thought a long time for like 5 minutes before you asked, just to make sure I said yes. But thanks for supporting both this show and the Pick and Winners. Just tune in every week. We'll have it sometime between Tuesday and Friday. We'll have all our picks for the weekend. So the records are pretty good. What we're doing over there is trying to get 1 unit profit. So we're betting whatever it takes. If it's a favorite, obviously we're well over 1 unit. But we're having a hard time getting to green. But the records are pretty good. A lot of good insight over there. So if you like what's going on this show, definitely check that one out as well. It's on the same channel.
Yeah, it's a good experiment on can you be profitable just picking teams to win and how hard it is just to pick a team to win in the NFL, right? So,
yeah,
but it's fun. And hey, there might have been one guy who said, hey, you might want to throw a little something on the New England Patriots to beat the Buffalo Bills because this is the most likely team to get upset over this. Woo!
It happened. It happened.
Saved my week, Tony. Banger of the week. Bring Me to Life by Evanescence. We talked a lot about what we learned and what's scary for us. And a lot of it was negative on our takes and what we're having to deal with. And we want our teams to come back to life. This is a pretty neat song from a lot of those, what are those movies with the vampires and stuff like that?
Twilight?
No, good. Jeez, not the greatest vampire movies, but no, vampires and werewolves. I forget their name. The chick like comes down from the top of whatever.
Underworld? Is it
Underworld, right? This Evanescence is like key in all of the Underworld movies.
Oh, wait. Is that Kate Beckinsale?
Yeah, Kate Beckinsale. Just blasting werewolves.
Yeah, okay.
It would have been way cooler if we had like the dude from True Blood in those movies where he's just calling them vampires, or whatever like that. I don't know if you ever watched True Blood, but
I'm gonna have to go back and watch those movies just to listen for Evanescence.
It's all over, dude. It's all over. Bring Me to Life, Evanescence for Tony. I am Nate. TacoCorp episode 110. Week 7 recap is in the books. Love you. Bye.
Skull. Skull.
Skull.
Skull.
Skull.
Skull. Skull. Skull. Skull. Skull.
Oh, I was so pissed.